Hey guys, on my way to get some world buffs for a raid later, and thought I would just do a quick video, quick probably meaning 30 minutes for me. Um, I've talked about some of this stuff in the past, but I thought I would just show some of the gear and some of the stats, and some of the sets that I use currently for tanking. I'm still not um, full bis yet, so um, there's a lot of things that I'm missing. So and there's some pieces, um, that you can interchange. So if you're a BWL slash AQ40 tank and you only have access to tier two currently, you could swap in tier two pieces where you see tier three pieces for me, unless I'm wearing them for a specific set bonus. So I use item rack. Item rack is a very handy tool. I know there are other add-ons out there like it. Um, oh my gosh, am I gonna land in time? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, come on. Come on. Yes. Sorry, I'm not gonna be able to get buffs later tonight, so I'm trying to hurry up and get them. I know there's other add-ons besides item rack that you can use. That was great timing, actually. Now I can go get the heart. There's other add-ons that you can use to manage your gear sets. I used to use macros to equip different gear, but item rack is probably, I would have a very difficult time being a main tank without item rack, to be honest. I don't keybind my sets. I just hover over my sets and then I just pick them. So basically, so if you look at my character, and I know that it's squishing. I'm trying out a new filter. It's probably going to make it a little difficult. Let's see if I can get some other stuff opened up. I think it's going to always open. That's still not great. So I'm trying out a new filter that squishes the edge of my stream so that it fits on a normal, because I play on a widescreen monitor and I don't have another monitor to stream on, so it ends up looking like this. Anyway, I'll just read out what my stats are. But anyway, with item rack, I just hover over and then you just so I have all these sets already created, and you can see, you can change the icon, you can name them whatever you want. So I've got it shows over on the right, patchwork main tank, patchwork soaker, threat main tank, mitigation, mulgrain tank, mount, which I don't use anymore, fire resistance, threat, which I used to have two fire resistance sets. Now I'm down to one, so it's just called fire resistance threat. Flask set, frost resistant set, 2-piece tier 3, 4-piece tier 3, and then DPS. So most of the time I'm either in threat or 4-piece tier 3. 2-piece tier 3 is one I recently created. I don't think 2-piece tier 3 is worthy of creating its own set, in my opinion. If you're gonna wear 2-piece tier 3, you might as well be wearing 4-piece tier 3. It's really not that much of a difference. And you're gaining, you're still getting the revenge bonus and you're gaining more stamina. So really what I would consider these would be to be high threat, mitigation, and then 4-piece would be considered a balanced set. So you'll hear, if you watch any other tanks videos, or read stuff that they write, vlogs, whatever, people will talk about a balanced set of gear. That's basically what my 4-piece tier 3 set is a balanced set. So I'm wearing my threat set right now. Like I said, I don't have so I have Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. I'm gonna my crit is artificially inflated right now. It's inflated by 5, so it should be right around 28. is what my unbuffed crit would be. Um, but the differences between the sets are really the threat obviously is meant for as much threat as possible. And I wear this set on a lot of trash as well. So I'll wear this set full for a full run of MC and BWL, every boss, every trash pull. The only exception in BWL is I will use 4-piece tier 3 for Broodlord. And the only reason I'm doing that is to inflate my stamina. So here when I get the heart buff, I'll boon, and then we'll see. I'll read off what my stats are. But you want to have a set. You don't want to be running around. Like this is what I see a lot of people running around in and like tanking trash and bosses, which is, basically full tier 3 and dual wielding. That's not a great idea. And it's not a great idea for one main reason, which is it's gonna be hard for you to hold threat. Now, if you don't have DPS, usually when I say DPS, I'm talking about mages, fury warriors, and rogues. And even rogues, I've seen some monster rogues who can pump out ridiculous threat, but rogues can vanish on pretty much every boss fight, and rogues also have feint. Fury warriors and mages don't have an aggro drop. Their aggro drop is to die or to lip or to get a bop from a paladin. So rogues to a lesser degree, but usually when I say the DPS, that means mages with ignite and fury warriors. Hunters are never going to pull off of you. Warlocks are never going to pull off of you. None of those other classes are going to pull off of you. But if you have fury warriors, if you're in AQ40 and none of your and you have really bad luck, your guild has bad luck with gear drops or weapon drops, and nobody has a CTS. Everybody's still rocking Brute Blade and Hakari Warblade or whatever the case may be. You can probably wear some of this gear and be fine, depending on what your weapons are. Because your weapons do provide quite a bit of threat. It's not just your gear and your stats. Your DPS, a lot of your DPS comes from your weapons. But this is not a good tank set. I wear this mitigation set. This is what I consider my full mitigation set, and I still have some threat pieces thrown in there. So I have the belt, I have these gloves which have agility and strength on them. I've got the neck with this neck here, which is agility and strength. So this is not full blown. There's very few fights where you need to have full blown every single piece mitigation. Usually that's only the case when you are progressing. If you're a Nax tank and you have Bis gear, you're not going to wear full mitigation on Sapphiron or Lotheb. You're going to have some threat pieces mixed in there, because your healers are going to be able to keep you alive. If your healers are in Bis gear and you're in Bis gear, there's really no reason to be in full mitigation gear. And a lot of the full mitigation gear sucks. So, for example, tier 3 gloves. Even when you're fighting Sapphiron, there's times where you're going to be dual wielding against Sapphiron, or you should be. The chance to block and the block value from tier 3 gloves does nothing when you don't have a shield on. So you're basically wearing this for the enchant, which you can put on any pair of gloves. 17 strength and 9 defense. So these have 19 strength and 9 defense. These have 27 stamina. These have 20. So I'm trading off, and these also have 18 agility on top of that, which is almost every 20 agility as a warrior, you get 1% dodge and 1% crit. So I'm trading 7 stamina for 2 more strength, which is 4 more attack power. Nothing to write home about. But I'm gaining 1% crit and 1% dodge. So these gloves are better than tier 3 in my opinion. If you look at the armor, they're pretty close. These are almost 100 more armor. These are 535. These are 615. That being said, when you're fighting a boss like Patchwork or Sapphiron, you're going to have priests on you, or you should at least have priests on you. and you're going to have inspiration up, and some of those fights you're going to have improved lay on hands, which and those two things increase your armor. You're going to be really close to the armor like I've almost, and you're going to be drinking Stone Shield. I've almost never, I'm to the point where I'm debating on dropping points out of so right now, actually, I don't, this is a test build that I'm using. I don't have any points in toughness. I have points in shield spec, and I've got points in anticipation. And the points in anticipation are because I'm working on a uncritable dual wield setup, where I can dual wield and be uncritable without shield block. I can still be crushed, but I can't be crit. So basically, being at 440 defense. But you put on your mitigation gear mostly for the stamina. So the armor is, very nice. The stamina is very nice. You're not putting it on for the block value. So any of the tier 3 pieces that have block value, you can see, which is mostly the belts and the gloves. So the belt is block value, 3% block chance, and then defense, and then 26 stamina, 20 strength, and then mentors is 21 strength, 26 stamina versus 21 stamina. So I'm losing 5 stamina, but I'm gaining 1% hit, 1% crit, and 20 agility, which is another % crit and 1% dodge. I will gladly give up 3% block and 18 block value for 1% hit, 1% and 2% crit and 1% dodge. That's a no-brainer. Even if you're wearing this mitigation gear, you need your crit to be as high as possible. And you want your attack power to be high, obviously. So when you're building a mitigation set, like I said, you can, if you don't have access to tier 3, you can, wear some tier 2 gear. Let's just go to tier 2 real quick. So like the helm is pretty good. Like you don't care about the resistance, but it has a lot of stamina and defense. The shoulders, I probably wouldn't wear these. I'd probably, if you're in AQ40, I would wear 2.5 shoulders. If you're not in AQ40, you probably want to put these on in a mitigation set, but I don't think I would wear these in a balanced set. Breastplate is pretty decent. It's pretty much the helm just over again. The bracers really don't have any great stats. They're a decent amount of stamina. Let me boon this real quick. Tier 1 gloves. These gloves are, tier 2 gloves. These are okay. They've got decent strength, decent stamina. Parry's okay. It's basically the same thing as dodge. Completely negates damage, which is good. It's hard to stack parry. I'd rather have agility, but the gloves are not terrible. The belt I would pass on. The legs are very good. These are arguably better than tier 3 legs. Tier 3 legs have more stamina and a little bit more strength and 2 more defense. But these legs have 1% dodge. These legs, tier 2, has 2% dodge. So they're pretty similar, but the tier 3 legs have block value. I wish that block value on tier 3 was dodge instead, or parry, or something else. Anything but block and block value. Tier 2 boots, probably pass on those as well. So, let's say head, chest, gloves. You're probably not going to get to the 5 set bonus. I would wear, if you're going to wear, and again, for mitigation, if that's all you have, then that's all you have. If you're in BWL and you got full tier 2 and you go into AQ 40 and you fight twins, you're probably going to be wearing all tier 2. You're probably not going to have any other pieces to swap out for your shoulders that have that much stamina and that much armor, which is fine. What I'm trying to say is, don't, just because it's tier 2 doesn't mean it's good. There are other options out there. Even in AQ 40, while you're progressing through AQ 40, there's a pair of green shoulders that are ugly as sin, but they are think it's a Battle Guard that drops them. I've never gotten them, and I'm probably not going to get them. Pauldrons of the Unrelenting. These are pretty decent. They look horrible. Oh, there. That's how I can move my character out a little bit so you can see my stats a little bit better. They look horrible. They're green bug shoulders, just like the green gloves. But the stats on them are pretty good. 11 strength, 30 stamina, 9 defense, 1 dodge. I mean, there's no block value. You know, pretty decent. Try to snag those as an upgrade to your tier 2 while you're progressing through AQ40. So for mitigation, you're really not trying, and something else, defense rating. I've talked about this in other videos. You don't want to be at 440 defense. If you can get to 440, it's very difficult. And I have this trinket on right now, which has a lot of defense on it. And in Axe, I'm normally using Mark of the Champion, or I might even use Life Giving Gem. I only use this Stylene's Scarab for not for Saffron and not for Lotheb. I use it for, I'm trying to think. Do I even use it anymore? I don't think that I do. Maybe this is just in the set, because normally when I put this set on, as soon as I target Lotheb, it puts on Mark of the Champion. So I wouldn't even really use Stylene's. You can use it if you don't have a better option. But again, Stylene's has a ton of block, and it has a decent amount of block value, but those are not amazing stats unless you're going to have a shield on the whole time. When you're fighting Saffron and Lotheb, you want more attack power instead of that defense, because you can always blow cooldowns too. Or even Life Giving Gem is not a bad choice, but you're not trying to hit 440 defense. 440 defense is the defense cap where you cannot be crit anymore by a boss. And the reason you're not trying to hit that is that's not really the meta anymore. And on top of that, you have to gimp your output, meaning your crit and your attack power. Like, look at my crit, 15.8. That doesn't include suppression. And suppression is almost 5%. It's like 4.8%. So my crit is really about 11%. And my attack power is 860 unbuffed. Those are terrible. Even though I'm dual wielding, it's going to be very difficult to keep threat wearing this gear. So, like I said, this is my Lotheb set. This is my Saffron set. I dual wield at the beginning, then I put a shield on. On Lotheb, there's a mechanic with the spores that the DPS go get the spore, then their abilities no longer cause threat. That's why you can get away with wearing so much mitigation. On Saffron, you usually start dual wielding till the first air phase, and then after the first air phase you use a shield, and by then you usually have a good enough lead that and the melee are usually dodging blizzards and stuff like that, but so I very rarely wear this mitigation set. There's a set, so the set that I'm working on, I have this Patchwork main tank set. This is what I use on Patchwork, but also on Thaddeus. On Patchwork, because threat is basically... So, my crit went up, not by a ton, and again, I'm not world buffed, but when you're fighting Patchwork and you're the main tank, not a soaker, but you're the main tank, he can crit and crush you as the main tank. But his regular melees are pretty light. It's like, I think that he hits you for around 1500 or so, which, in this gear with raid buffs, I think I'm around 12k hit points. But he hits you very frequently. So instead of really big hits every 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, he hits you with smaller hits every second. And you have basically an unlimited supply of rage. So you can get away on Patchwork main tanking with a high defense rating, meaning you're wearing a lot of gear, defensive gear or mitigation gear, and you dual wield the whole time, and then you use some DPS trinkets. So the set that I'm working on, which I don't have yet, is to get to uncrittable while dual wielding, because even in this set, You can see I've got a couple pieces of 2.5, but they also do have defense on them. I've got the legs and the shoulders on. I've got this cloak, which is a good cloak. Doesn't have any defense on it, but it has hit, which I need. So once I get the Nubricon neck, or excuse me, the cloak, the neck from Cthulhu, the belt from Twins. This is an amazing belt, but the belt from Twins I just need for the defense rating, and then plus the defense rating from Anticipation. It's possible to get to 440 defense and be uncrittable by Patchwork. And then I would wear this on Thaddeus as well, because Thaddeus is not a... You don't need to pump tons of threat on Thaddeus. Your mages are going to pass you up no matter what you do, because Ignite does ridiculous damage on Thaddeus as long as the mages coordinate it properly. So you have tanks, you usually have 3 to 4 tanks doing a taunt rotation. So you can wear, on Thaddeus, you want to wear as much gear as possible to improve your survival, which usually means mitigation gear. So you don't necessarily worry about your attack power or your crit on Thaddeus. I would not wear this set on pretty much any other boss in the game, except those two. Patchwork Soaker. This is one of the times you're going to be, wearing a lot of mitigation gear and a shield the entire time. I still don't use Stylenes. I still use Mark of the Champion, because as a Soaker you need to be high on threat, and it's hard to be high on threat when you're not dual wielding. But this is the set that I use. I probably will use the Cthulhu neck when I get it, because it has hit and it has high stamina. But this is a very good option, the Sadist Collar. But you can see, like, I'm wearing mitt rings. I'm wearing my shield. I'm still at 6% hit. My crit is terrible. But again, you do get some threat from Hateful Strike from Patchwork. I only wear this set on Patchwork when I'm soaking. My threat set, you guys see me in this all the time. This doesn't have a ton of defense, 330, but this set is meant for the lower raid tiers. So I run this set all through MC, all through BWL, except for Broodlord. I'll even use this on Nefarian, because Broodlord, because he has a Mortal Strike, which does a ton of damage in one hit. If he didn't have Mortal Strike, I would wear this set against him. My hit points just don't get high enough for me to be comfortable. Especially if I don't have Last Stand Up. I'll use 4-piece tier 3 to bump my health up a little bit. But this is a lot of threat for Trash. I use this in Nax on Trash. I use it in Nax against the caster bosses. So the caster bosses in that. So I would use it on Grand Widow Fairlina. I would use it on Noth. I'd use it on Hygen. I don't use it on Resuvius, but you don't tank Resuvius, you tank the ads. I don't use it on Gothic because of the Trash. I use it on Gluth. So yeah, about 4 or 5 bosses in Nax I use this set on. And I use it on all of the Trash. Unless I'm wearing 4-piece. It depends on the night. So 4-piece. So let's take a look at my stats real quick. So just 1,000 attack. I'm really just looking at attack power and crit. And my hit points are just under 5,400. Armor's at 58. So 27% and then 1,000. Almost 1,100 for the attack power. So it really doesn't change too much. My defense went up quite a bit, and my stamina went up a decent amount. Not a ton, but with raid buffs, it goes up even more. And 4-piece tier 3, like I said, this is more my balanced set. I wear this a lot in Nax as well. I wear this against Nubricon if I'm main tanking him. If I'm not main tanking him, I wear my threat set for the ads. I wear this on Maxna. This is what I wear when I'm ad tanking Resuvius. I wear this on Gothic for the ads. Grobulus. And then Kel'Thuzad, I also wear 4-piece. Kel'Thuzad slaps. Like, you need to have a lot of hit points against Kel'Thuzad. So 4-piece is exactly what it sounds like. It's 4 pieces of tier 3. The best pieces, in a lot of people's opinions, is the helm, the chest, the bracers, and then either the boots or the ring. They're really interchangeable. And again, you're picking the pieces. So this has dodge and defense, no block or block chance. You can pick your whatever neck you want. That adds, I try to have the 4-piece tier 3, and then my other pieces are usually more threat oriented. 2.5 shoulders, you really can't beat those. 2.5 legs as well, you really can't beat those. You don't want to wear, even though tier 3 has hit on it, it has block value. And if you look, the stamina difference between the two is really not a lot, and the armor difference is really not a lot. So you do gain a little bit more defense, but I would rather wear, and you get agility with the 2.5 and more strength. So I prefer the 2.5. Cloak, chest. Chest has 2% hit, 1% dodge. It's very good. Dreadnought chest is very, very good. And tons of defense, 13. Bracers, these are very good bracers. They really don't have anything on them except defense. And then you can either put stamina or strength, whatever. Steadies, these are dropped from AQ40. Again, these are extremely good gloves. You need to try to get these. They're ugly as sin, but they're amazing gloves. Mentor's girdle. This is I want to say this is the best belt in the game for Fury Prot tanking. Like, it's this, the Twins belt. I know a lot of warriors wear the Twins belt, and they. I'm gonna get it eventually. Royal Karaji belt. So 13 strength, 13 agi, 22 stamina. It's 1 more stamina, but it's 8 less strength, 7 less agi. 7 doesn't sound like a lot, but it goes across your set. 1% parry, 8% defense, and this is 1 hit, 1 crit. I mean, Mentors is just better. It just is. And the armor on Mentors is 20 more, so they're pretty much a wash on armor. I'm going to get the Royal Karaji belt eventually, just because I would like to have a belt that has defense on it that doesn't have garbage stats. This belt is definitely better than tier 3, but Mentors is just amazing all around. It's good for your mitigation set. It's good for your threat set. It's good for every set. Amazing belt. Try to get it as soon as you get into Nax. Tier 3 boots have dodge and defense. And I have stamina on mine. You can put 7 agi on there if you want. Or movement speed. I don't do movement speed anymore. I actually took movement speed off my Boots of the Fallen Hero recently because I either have the ZG buff, so the Spirit of Zandalar increases your movement speed by 10%, and then you can get a Zanza. If you die and lose your world buffs, you can get this Zanza, which increases your run speed by 20%. So just have this in your bags as a backup. And then if you die again, then you just have to run around at regular speed. Just don't die. Or you can enchant with speed, whatever you want to do. So, like I said, you can either have these boots on and then have some DPS rings, or you can swap one of your rings out for Ring of the Dreadnought for 4-piece. This is a lot of stamina, 27 stamina. So if you put on Chromies or Boots of the Fallen Hero, you are going to lose probably 10 or 12 stamina. You're going to gain some hit. You're going to gain some agility, but you're going to lose the dodge, so that's going to kind of end up being a wash. You're going to lose a little bit more armor from Dreadnought. I've done the math on having the ring on versus having these 2 rings, and they're pretty close. If I put on Ring of the Dreadnought and then swap, my stats stay pretty similar. And I just like the look of the boots better. Is really what it came down to. These are and I don't need the hit. If I needed the hit, then I would put these on, because I don't have hit on either one of these 2 rings. So I'd put on Dreadnought, or I'd put on Fallen Hero, and then I'd wear Dreadnought ring in one of these 2 slots. Probably Applied Force. Yeah, it would depend. And then, whatever trinkets you have for DPS. So this is my 4-piece set. So the fire set. Oh, let's go over Mograine. So Mograine, obviously, this is basically a. This actually needs to be updated, because I got steadies now. I didn't have steadies before. So what you do here is Mograine is one of the 4 horsemen. I only wear this when I'm tanking Mograine. And this set is specifically built, and I am 1% under the hit cap. I'm sure someone might, say something about it. Um, I usually will swap one of my rings out, or I'll swap my neck out for 17 stamina, 9 stamina, defense. Yeah, we'll just swap that out. I think at one point I had another piece of gear that I swapped out. Maybe I swapped the boots or something. I can't remember. Once I get the Cthulhu neck that has hit on it, and I'll probably put that back in there. But what you're trying to do here, so my fire resistance is not very high. It's 123. And I have a video about fire resistance, or about resistance in general, and what you should be aiming for. But you're not trying to overload yourself on fire resistance on Mograine. Because what he has is an ability called... oh man, I'm blanking. I was going to say Holy Wrath, but that's Zeliek. It's Righteous Fire. And it's a chance on melee hit. So every melee swing he does against you has a chance to hit you with Righteous Fire, which is an upfront fire damage followed by a fire damage dot. And the upfront damage hits by a lot. The dot does not hit by a lot, but you don't... Any extra damage... Like, Mograine is considered the hardest hitting 4 horseman tank, or 4 horseman mob, because of Righteous Fire. If it wasn't for Righteous Fire, his melee attacks are basically the same as the other horsemen, and nobody is scared of them. Everybody's scared of Mograine. It's because of Righteous Fire. Like, it's a pain in the ass. So you want to try to mitigate, as if you can get around 200 resist, right around 200, 225 is where you get to be about 50% mitigation for that particular element. I also will use a Frozen Rune, which absorbs 1500 to 2500 fire damage. If you don't have these, you can use a Greater Fire Protection Potion. Those absorb more than the rune does. So the rune was 1500 to 2500. These are 1950 to 3250. The benefit of the rune is that it doesn't use your pot cooldown. So as we're running to 4 horsemen, you can't pre-pot shadow or fire, because the packs before 4 horsemen's room do both of those spells. You have to wait until the trash is dead. Now, we used to pre-pot shadow, but we don't anymore. We use it during the fight, but you want to have your pot cooldown up. So you can pop the Frozen Rune and still leave your shadow pot cooldown available to use for the marks if the marks get too high. So this just helps with a little more mitigation on the pool, is essentially what that's helping you out with. You could also, if you wanted to, throw on a life-giving gem, but you do want to have... I only have 2 pieces of fire resist, and that's the Dark Iron Helm and the Dark Iron Legs. If you are a new tank and you're coming up through MC or BWL or whatever, don't even bother with... and I'm not wearing an Ixia Scale Cloak either, because I need the hit, obviously, from this cloak. But an Ixia Scale Cloak would be another 30 if I wanted to do that. That'd put me at 154. But don't bother doing Dark Iron Bracers, Dark Iron Gloves, whatever the other Dark Iron. Just get the helm and the legs. Go to BRD, farm the 20 fire resist enchant. If you don't know how to do that, I have not made a video on that, but there's videos out there on how to get the 20 fire resist enchant materials and what you need to do. Just these 2 pieces alone with no paladin buff, which you're probably not going to have a paladin buff on 4 horsemen. But just these 2 pieces by themselves are decent for armor. So like 758 in tier 3 is 800. 20 stamina is not great, but the 35 fire resist plus the 20 and then the legs are so this is 50 and this is 55. That's usually good enough. You don't need to have a billion fire resist for any fight in the game. Fire Maw is probably the scariest fire resist fight you're going to have to contend with. And I tank him with just the helm and the legs and the Ani Cloak with the fire resist. And then the UBRS buff and then a Paladin aura. That's more than enough. It's almost too much. So for Mograine, just these 2 pieces are all you need, and then you want to have a good balance of mitigation and threat. That's why I'm wearing 4-piece. So I can't wear the tier 3 helm because I'm wearing Dark Iron Helm. That's why you see I'm wearing In this instance, I'm wearing the chest, the bracers, the boots, and then the ring. And then my other ring is actually I need to change this ring as well because I got this ring recently. So I like this ring a little better. Well, let's see. So 12. So basically, this is a 0.5%. The 12 agi is 0.5% crit, 0.5% dodge. And 18 stamina. This is 17 stamina, 1% dodge. So I'm gonna lose 0.5% dodge, gain 0.5% crit, lose attack power. I'll keep Angelisa's touch on, I guess. But you want to keep your you do want to have a little bit of defense. You can put on QSR or I guess I could put on a Curia and then I would be over the hit. I'm actually at there now with the fire resist. You don't want to be at like 300 defense. You want to be kind of halfway between. And the 4 horsemen can be disarmed. That helps too. So my fire resist set is very similar to this. It just includes the so dark iron helm, dark iron legs, Nyxia neck. So you can see, so I'm at 161. This is what I wear on Firemaw. I'm probably going to stop wearing this neck. The cloak. So I'm wearing some pieces because I need the hit rating. 2-piece. That's... No, I'm not wearing this anymore. So here's what I'm going to do. So this is why I've mentioned in a previous video, what gear you should be getting out of BWL and MC, what gear you should be getting out of AQ40 to get ready for the next tiers of rating. But I mentioned in that video, don't get rid of stuff. Even this ring from Resuvius is kind of crappy, but it has hit and a lot of stamina. If you need the hit, it's almost the same amount of stamina as Dreadnought. But keep all these rings, keep them in your bank, keep them in your bags. About a third of my bags are dedicated to I'm deleting that message. Dedicated to gear, to different pieces of gear that I can swap in and out. And here's a great example. Obviously I haven't updated my fire resist set in a while. So I would actually rather wear this, and then because I just recently got these Steadfast Determination gloves, and that's why some of these sets are missing them. I put them in all my main tanking sets, and I've obviously forgotten to go back and get them out. So I can lose another hit there. So let's do this. So now I'm wearing the cloak, the helm, the legs, and that's it. I'm still at 6% hit, 25% crit. Okay, and if you want to do just like a comparison, just open up your snipping tool. So I just want to see what the difference was. So I haven't saved that set yet. So just those changes I made. My fire resist went down by 15. No, 17. I didn't snap my stamina, but my defense went down a little bit, which is not a humongous deal. My dodge went down 0.3, 0.4. Parry and block are pretty similar. My attack power went up by 30, and my crit went up by 2%. So I traded a couple different things for 2% crit. So yeah, I'll make that trade. I think, oh no, ring. That was another one, ring. Right? Yeah, okay, now let's save this. So this is what I would use on Ragnaros, Firemaw, and I think that's it. That's the only one. Now, even though there's other Drakes in BWL, Flamegore and Ebonrock, but I don't use the fire resistance set. What I do is I swap back to my threat set, and then what happens is when I target those drakes, I have a weak aura that automatically puts an Ixia scale cloak on. So I'm basically wearing this gear set and then putting on an Ixia scale cloak is what happens. Okay, I think that's all. Oh, frost resist. So we'll do frost resist set real quick. So my frost resist set is mostly crafted stuff. This comes from Heigen. This is plate. I do have the ring, and I don't have the ring on, but I can put the ring on for another 25 frost resist. So I'm at 213 unbuffed. You're gonna want, as a warrior, you do the quest. There's a quest when you get in an axe that there's a quest that you do that ends up getting you these legs, and you want the legs because these have a decent amount of stamina and strength and frost resist. This piece from Heigen is pretty decent, even though you don't really need the defense rating. The other pieces of frost resist, you want them to be male, because the tank on Saffron, you're only going to use this on Saffron. The tank on Saffron does not wear frost resist, so you do not need to build the plate set of frost resist as a warrior, whether you're a tank or not. So you see, like, I've got the helm, which is plate, but that drops from Heigen. Which this is not. I think there's a better helm that drops. Every boss drops some pieces. Like this neck, I wouldn't want to get this neck because all it is stamina and frost resist. You want to have. You would like to at least have some strength because then you can get some attack power out of it. But every boss drops. So like these are okay. I never got them because again they have defense. Like I'd rather have 2.5 for the hit rating. She doesn't drop. Oh yeah, of course. No, she doesn't drop anything that has hailstone. Again, you dodge rating. You don't want this ring. It has frost resist, but you're not going to be dodging anything. You're using this when you're DPSing, not when you're tanking. This is a better helm. If you, let's see, you're basically 44. This is 44. This is 24 stamina. This is 24 stamina. So you're trading 12 strength for 18 agi. This is probably pretty similar, to be honest. These two helms. Just for frost resistance, that is. Yeah, I don't think anyone... Oh, polar helmet, yeah, leather. You could get that too, I guess, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah, I don't think they're... These are just stamina frost resist. There's really not any good shoulders for frost resist. Saffron doesn't drop any frost resist, I don't think. And then Kel'Thuzad doesn't drop any either. Okay. So you want to get and if let's just go ahead and put the ring on, even though I'll be under the hit cap. That's probably why I'm not using it right now. So you can get I'm at 238. That's with enchants. So the cloak, you can have the frost resist cloak created, add 5 resistance to all. The chest, the male chest, is 40 attack power, pretty decent. Bracers, 32 attack power, 20 frost res. Gloves, these all are male, meant for hunters, which is why they have attack power on them, which is why you want them, because they're better than the plate alternatives. Legs, these have strength, these are plate, they're from the quest reward. And then the ring comes from a quest reward, but like I said, you can get away without having the ring if you have the other pieces. It's going to depend on your guild. But you want to be... I actually have a little bit too much frost resistance. I like wearing extra. But if you have world buffs, we tell our folks to be at least 125 or so. 150 is where we like them to be. Anywhere between 150 and 200. So I'm probably a little on the high side. The problem is it's hard to drop a single piece because they have so much resist on them. So I probably could drop these and go with Vengeance. That's going to put me down to 193. That's probably a good spot to be. That's unbuffed. So I'm going to add that and then save that to my Frost Resist. So you see how easy it is to change. You just change your gear and then you right click and then you save. Item rack is pretty handy. So I think that's all of them. I'm not going to go over the flask set because I feel like that would just be its own a video in and of itself. DPS, I really rarely use DPS set, but its DPS set is basically your threat set, probably with different weapons or a few different things. You're still going to be wearing 2.5 unless you have better. So my DPS set, obviously Lionheart is a big addition, rather than 2.5 or even Helm of Endless Rage. I'm still wearing the Onyxia Tooth Pendant because this neck is more of a... This is a very good Fury Prot neck. It's not a very good DPS neck. The neck from Kel'Thuzad is better. Storm Rage is a much better DPS neck than Sadists. This one's not terrible, but the cloak, same thing with the cloak. I actually have the Drape of Unyielding Strength in the bank. I probably should get it because that's 30 attack power. This is 30 attack power, but this can also be buffed, and it has a little more agi, so it's got a little bit of crits, about a 0.5% crit. This is technically better, but I don't DPS enough to carry that cloak around with me at all times, which is why it's in the bank. If I respec for a couple weeks, I probably would wear Unyielding Strength instead. A-Bomb Ribcage, I use that for both sets. CTS, I'll put Thunder Fury on if I'm helping keep the debuff up on a boss, but CTS is currently my main hand. Hungering Cold offhand. Still Soul String. Flame Guard Gauntlets. Mentors. Like I said, Mentors is good for everything. Amazing Belt. You're going to wear pretty much the same stuff. Lionheart is probably going to be the biggest difference that you wear. But like I said, I don't DPS a lot. So I'm normally running around in this gear set. Okay, so those are the different sets that I use and the different sets that you'll likely need. A full threat, a balanced 4-piece, or balanced, or when you get to tier 3, you can call it 4-piece tier 3. You can put in tier 1. You can put tier 1 pieces in if there's some tier 1 pieces that you like that don't have block or block value on them. But you do want to have, kind of like a 0 mitigation, kind of half mitigation, and then full mitigation set. And then you do need to keep upgrading your shield as you go. I've gone through that in other videos, but you mainly want, and pay attention to the stats on the shield as well. There's some shields out there that have block chance and block value on them. There's the AQ20 shield, surprisingly, is this is very good because it doesn't have those stats. So it's got 20 stamina and it's got attack power on it through the strength. It's a pretty decent shield. It's only 2,500 armor, which is, not terrible, not great. But I carried this, I think, until AQ40. And then in AQ40, you can get the second best shield in the game, which is this one. The only shield better than this is the Face of Death from Saffron. Even though this shield has block chance and block value on it, it's got very close to 3,000 armor. So I'm just going to link this in the chat real quick. So Blackwing Lair, I know everybody likes the door. Everybody likes the door. Oh, I can't link it unless let's do this. So we'll do Elementium Reinforced Bulwark. We'll do Nax, Saffron, Face of Death. Okay. So We've got Elementium Reinforced Bulwark, and then here's the Face of Death. I'm going to try to get these in the middle of my screen so they're not smushed up. So Elementium Reinforced Bulwark is 2893 armor, so it's a little bit less armor. It's got two more stamina than the Face of Death. I would consider that to be basically a wash. And then it has block value and defense. The Face of Death has block value and block chance. So Elementium Reinforced Bulwark is, even though it's only adding 7 defense, you could argue that it's pretty damn good. It's a pretty damn good shield, especially if you don't have access to the Face of Death. Comparing it to the Bulwark, it has 3 more stamina. It's less armor, but only by 100, not even 100. So Elementium Reinforced Bulwark, I don't see this drop very often. Blessed Karaji Bulwark is easier to get, in my opinion, depending on how many folks you have going for Pugios. I know that there's some dwarf warriors and off-race warriors that are going to go for these axes and also Pugios, but I was able to pick up Blessed Karaji Bulwark pretty quickly once we got to AQ40. I think I've seen Elementium Reinforced Bulwark drop off Chromagus. I'm pretty sure I've done BWL over 50 times in the last year that I've been raiding. I've been raiding for a little less than a year on Era. And I think I've seen that Bulwark drop twice. The Elementium, this one, from Chromagus. I think I've seen CTS and Chromie boots drop 20 times a piece. Like, I just don't... So if your guild is getting these to drop like crazy, definitely pick one up. And if you get one, then I would not replace it with Blessed Karaji Bulwark. I think technically Blessed Karaji Bulwark is a little better, but not enough to... These are essentially the same shield when you look at the stat differences. 1 more defense for the Karaji Bulwark, but 3 less stamina. But it also has 100 more armor. And when it comes to actually putting on the shield, because that's the thing that I talk about with gear. You don't want to be wearing pieces of gear that give you block chance and block value because you normally don't have a shield on. When you do, but the shield, when you put a shield on, if the shield has block on it, that's not terrible because you're putting a shield on. Like, if you're putting a shield on and the shield has those stats, then they're in use right away. If you're wearing tier 3 gear that has block value but you're dual wielding, those stats are wasted until you put the shield on. So it's not, and it's hard to find shields that don't have those stats on them. I think Elementium Reinforced Bulwark and the AQ20 shield are the only 2 that don't have block chance on them. The Face of Death also doesn't have block chance on it. But because really, if it wasn't for the armor, if it wasn't for the increased armor, I would probably say Elementium Reinforced Bulwark and the Karaji shield are better. Because this is that's a good chunk of armor. It's like 600 armor difference. It's not, but it's 2 less stamina, and then it's a little tiny bit more block, which isn't a big deal, and it's 3% block. So yeah, really, Elementium Reinforced Bulwark. This shield and the bug shield from AQ40 are essentially the same thing except for the armor. You're getting that extra 500 armor. And that makes it worth it. When this dropped, I rolled MS on it, or main spec, to get it. So yeah. Okay. So that's I think that's it for this video. I'm gonna try to work on a few more later this week. Like I said, I might do one just on flask set. I'm still building my flask set. This can be a whole entire video all in and of itself, but these are kind of the sets that you need. The reason I don't do a mounted set anymore is because turning this on and off in AQ40 sucks, and I do just rather deal with the slower mounted speed. What this essentially does, if you're not familiar with item rack, is that it whenever you're mounted, it automatically equips whatever gear you tell it to. So you could do carrot on a stick, you could do gloves that have riding skill, you could do boots with mithril spurs, and then you can ride a little bit faster. It's like 10% faster, I think, or something like that. But in AQ40, like I said, you don't want to get caught with that stuff on when you're in a fight because you're riding a bug around a lot. So I turned it. I'm probably gonna end up deleting it if I have another set to add, because I'd like this to be symmetrical. So, all right. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video.